Hello, everybody. Now, today I am super excited to introduce one of my lovely friends and a recent networking partner, the beautiful Viv Allen. Now, just recently, I started I formed part of a networking group, meeting with some like-minded individuals that want to grow their business. And here I was introduced one day, this amazing lady came into our Zoom meeting room with the biggest beaming smile. And I knew at that point that we would be friends. So basically, I want to introduce the lovely Viv Allen. Hello, Viv.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hello. Now, we've been chatting loads, haven't we, about business and getting back on track recently. So tell us a little bit about you. What is it you do and how you can help people?
Oh, thank you so much, Charlotte, for inviting me along to join you today. It is always exciting to work with friends and also kindred spirits, because equally, I think your beaming smile beamed back at me on that first meeting. And it is really lovely to meet someone who's passionate about what they do and actually genuinely has that high energy vibe, which is so important, not only when you are running your own business, but also for managing life and getting the absolute most out of every second counts. And that's definitely much my motto. And so I combined my skills really. So after many years as a business owner and entrepreneur, I then had a real change, because I had quite a change in my life, and I got divorced at the end of a relationship. And so I went into counselling. So I had some counselling for myself, for my own journey, and I found the benefits so incredible that I became retrained as a counsellor and a psychotherapist. And then after many years of doing that, which was great and I enjoyed it, but I was like, nah, it's not quite hitting all the spots for me. So what I did in the last 18 months is round everything together and bring all parts of me into alignment, because I think this is absolute key for success. So I'm not compartmentalizing. I used to do is like, that was my counselling day and this is my business day. And which is, there's a point for business strategy of being able to block time, but you can't block time parts of you quite so well. Yes. So I brought it all into alignment, and now I offer a service specifically for business owners and emerging entrepreneurs to harness all of that great stuff that comes when you start to do that journey, or maybe you've been running a business for a while, and really get strategic, but using the mindset and the power of our minds to execute success. So I work specifically on 3 specific things with business owners and entrepreneurs. Relationships. Now, sometimes depending on where you are, that could be your internal relationship, it could be relationships with family or business or customers. But relationships is always a key component to business, because without relationships, we don't have a business. And then I work on the organization. That's the sort of strategy. So again, that could look like, a lot of business owners are just flat out and just have no time. That's not healthy. That's not healthy for your well-being. It's not healthy for your relationships. And it's not healthy for your business, quite honestly. So we might look at really like nitty-gritty stuff, like how to outsource more or automate, things like that. Or we might look at your strategy. Like, we can get really busy as business owners, but not doing the work that counts. And that's really, so having a bird's eye view and being able to look at that. So that's really important. And of course, all of that has to be founded on finances, because whilst I love what I do and I would do it without payment, that isn't, again, a very healthy strategy for my long-term plans for retirement. So, and also to be able to, money is a great leverage. I can leverage my time with money. I can have more luxurious experience with money. I have more fun with my friends and family with money. And money is limitless, so are we. So all we got to do is, how do we bring that all together? So we have sound financial plans, so that we don't just spend time doing busy stuff and not get the financial rewards.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about the fun element. I know I've listened to Viv's lots of her podcasts, and if you haven't already, do tune in. They are so good. They're just I describe them as like caramel to the ears for the business owner, because they're just so easy to listen to, but they're really full of like some really productive nuggets. But one of the things that you constantly say throughout a lot of them is that you bring adventure into every day, because when you bring adventure into your day, it's more likely to be fun fun-filled, and you'll bring that better productivity to your business that way. And I just literally, when I heard those words, I was like, oh my gosh, she is my sort of woman. Literally, I just love that. And everyone knows that I have a lot of fun doing what I'm doing, but I'm just chatting to lots and lots of business owners at the moment, and also within my team as well. Now, we've been seeing, obviously, September has brought around a whole load of new changes, you know, particularly with schools going back, and just obviously with different routines in place now. So I think people are starting to plan more. But you know, we all have a plan of action, but sometimes we just need, like you say, a bird's eye view, don't we, in terms of getting a little bit more productive, so the time we do have is actually time really well spent. And I guess I'd love to ask your advice on this, Viv. What would you say is maybe like your best tips for being, I don't know, more productive? So let's just say, for example, for me, I have, 6 hours in the day where effectively I can work my business, become a better person, all of that. But I want to make sure that those hours really, really count. Those are the hours when my kids are at school, by the way. So everything outside of that, obviously, my kids are my focus. So what would be your tips to be maybe a little bit more productive, would you say?
I think that the main thing is discipline. And I think that it's like got such a bad rep, that word, because we think about disciplining our children or discipline like as if it's a negative thing. But actually the root of the word discipline is from disciple, and disciple is follow. So if we follow the plan that we've set out for ourselves, we will most likely have success. I think the biggest problem we have is not following. And the things that interrupt that can be manifold, and we can have excuses abounding, you know. Like there are lots of reasons why I haven't made my sales calls today, because I had to do this and this and this. And I think what happens, particularly when I'm working with clients, and I think that's one of the great things about getting a mentor or a buddy or someone who can help you just look into your business and look at your strategy and look at what your behaviors are, the things you are executing and the things you're not. Because it's like a recipe, isn't it? You know, like if you want to bake a cake, you've got to put the right amount of everything in to make that cake. And running our business is the same thing, but of course we will tend to favor the things we find easy and not too much of a challenge, and we will resist or pull away from or avoid or come up with all kinds of excuses for the things which we find more challenging. And the irony is that, of course, you mentioned my podcast, the True Growth Podcast. Now, I started that at the end of last year. It took me 3 months, that's 3 months, before I actually laid down one track. But it was on my agenda, it was on my to-do list, it was in my diary, it was everywhere, and I still was resisting it. It's like, oops, missed that deadline.
Okay.
Oops, I missed that deadline. And it wasn't until I understood what was unconsciously preventing me from completing that action. So I would just say it's got to be discipline, but if the discipline's not working, then you've got to look at what the resistance is, and you've got to get in, spend a little bit of time inwards, or maybe with a buddy, as I say, or a coach. Okay, what is it that what was I fearing? And of course I was fearing being visible. Like, you put that stuff out there, it's out there,
True.
And that was
so
scary. But now I honestly, to do the first episodes, which were sort of 20 minutes long, it would probably take me best part of 3 days to build up the courage, 3 hours to prepare, an hour to do the recording. Now I do the recordings, here we go, let's record. What are we saying today? I spend very little time. I get sort of focused on what it is I want to get across, but then I can just go with it. And there's no nerves, I just enjoy it. So that's what I'm saying. The discipline of persistently, continuously focused action brought me from fear and worry and concern and all that internal stuff that stops you, through that to actually enjoying it, having fun, and feeling motivated to get that done every week.
Absolutely. Fear is something that I hear a lot of when a lot of people will often approach me and say, I'd love to do what you do, but I'm so scared. I couldn't ever go live or, thing like that. But, I've been in that place once too, just in the same way that you were like fretting about the podcast, like actually, when it's done, it's done. And actually you get some great results when it's done. So, I love the fact you picked up on that, because again, lots of people at the moment are holding themselves back with fear. And entrepreneurs can be just so incredible when they just when they park the fear at the door and just get on with the task in hand. I love that. So I've been I'm doing a travel on a different subject now, but it kind of fits in with the fear. So I talk a lot about goal setting with my team because, of course, like you say, having that discipline of consistent daily actions all adds up to big success. I often use Earl Nightingale, The Stranger's Secret. I love that. If you haven't listened to that, it is amazing. Literally, I take something new from that every single time, but it talks about having a plan of action and just cracking on with it, basically. So I know for me, it's really important to write those goals down. But what advice would you maybe give to someone, Viv, that was really holding themselves back with fear from executing that plan of action? What would be the best sort of methods they could sort of employ really to get over that fear?
Mm-hmm. I think that there's a tendency as well to sort of say, I'm here and I want to be successful. Which is great. They're like, yes, that's it. And I'm going to have, this is my new business. Yep, that's it. I'm going to go and do it. And then, of course, what happens is that's a huge jump from the idea to not only the execution, but the actual success element, like when you see the outcome. Yeah. So setting your outcome is one thing. And it's great to know where you're headed, like on any journey. But equally, you can't get from here to there in one jump. It's a multiple of steps. And that steps, they aren't always in a linear direction. It's not always straight from A to B. Sometimes it can be a circuitous route. But what we can do is, like you say, get in our own way. And then because we've taken a detour, start beating ourselves up and then think, I'm rubbish at this. But you can't compare your journey with anyone else's. I mean, it's all this stuff is what you hear all the time. And until you actually experience it, it's really hard to understand what they mean. So I would say that honestly, know what the goal is that you want. Come down to sort of 5 big moves, but then get blinker focused on one section and reduce that down into smallest chunks you can. Because if you look out too wide, you're just going to start comparing yourself, and that is going to, sort of stymie that flow again, your flow, because you won't get there the same way as anyone else. But the things that are common is the persistent, continuous, focused action.
Yes, and in fact, I was just having a conversation with someone prior to this about failing forward. We're often like I guess we're just all worried about people judging us, but actually to build a really sustainable business, often we have to fail forward many times, try new things to know what works for us best, and particularly for our business model, and what works as us for people as well. So I guess. And again, that's another thing. I think we're all so conditioned, aren't we, we have to get everything right first time. But actually, that's not the case, is it?
Yeah, not at all. I think most of the best inventions have all come out of mistakes, haven't they?
It's very true.
That's true. And I think a mentor once said to me, and I love this, and I'll pass it on because I find it really helpful to me, was that I used to say, well, if I don't get it right, I'll fail. If I don't win, I fail. And he was like, no, if you don't win, you learn. And it's like, yeah, of course, because it's just feedback. And it's like you say, it may take you in a different direction, but that's an even better one for you and your business.
Totally, totally. And I think, you know, I literally hold my hands up. I'm so guilty of saying, oh, you know, I failed on that behalf. But like you say, I've learned a valuable lesson out of that. So rather than take the negative out of the situation, it's always good to take the positive out of that situation. So fabulous. So one thing I did want to chat about today, Viv, and this is, I really hold this really, you know, close to my heart, is personal development and professional development within your business. Particularly for those that are like maybe starting a new business, they maybe won't understand the importance of that. And I know for me, I had a big change in my a big change really in the way that I ranked up to my role last year, and the difference was in personal development and a change in mindset. So again, you know, I guess what would be maybe your advice to someone that's like unsure or not heard of like the benefits of you know, personal development or professional development in whatever form that might take?
Mm-hmm. I think that we've sort of said it in the second question, to be honest with you, because it's about mindset. And that is the biggest obstacle to your success. It's really the stories that we carry around in our head that quite often got placed there early on, and masses of social influence, which just puts all sorts of stories in our head about what the way things should be. And quite often they can be unconscious drivers. So the beauty of something like personal development, start to work on yourself. I know you love podcasts, I do too, and self-development, and also is learning from people who've already tread in front of you. Because you can learn their stories and apply them to you, so that you don't have to take so long to get there. So you could accelerate your success by just listening to someone who's already done it and then applying that to your life. Now, for me, the biggest shift, like you say, that you talked about your shift, the biggest step for me was learning to actually apply what I was learning. So I was learning loads of stuff, and a lot of it I was going in and I was incorporating it sort of unconsciously. But it wasn't until I started to strategize, like so I'd take something, I'd get a valuable piece of learning, and then I'd have to think about how do I actually embody that and do that thing. And that is the key. That's what I would say is one of the biggest changes. It's like, yeah, you can go, yeah, I know what I should be doing, but how do I put it into practice? And if you ever learn or pick something up and you don't know how to, ask that person, say exactly, how can I apply this to my business?
Yes. And I guess, you know, from your perspective, as a success coach, you must just see such incredible examples of how people have come into this with one mindset. You've taught them the different methods of how to change that mindset, and then you've seen that amazing success as a result of those changed actions. That must be pretty satisfying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if you've got time, but just one quick example. I'm working right now with a business owner locally down in Dorset. And she has a retail shop. So of course, this time, like with COVID, she's been really restricted about a number of people she can serve at any one time. So we're looking at ways that she could expand her opportunities. And she also loves being outside. So being inside the shop all the time was not great for her. And also the business was suffering because of this situation.
Sure.
Well, where do I go to a market? And she's like, oh yeah. And then a couple of weeks later, she's like, are you at market yet? But I've got and then it was a long list of excuses. But we worked through those things, some of which were practical, obstacles, but most of which were just her fear of making that step. And the minute that I sort of got her to sort of, okay, so what exactly is standing in the way? So apart from rain, there's like nothing stopping you from turning up, is there, with a basket of goods? No, okay. But you need someone to be your buddy to help you through that, because it really does. That's that relationship of trust. It's that relationship of allowing someone to just, guide you and nudge you gently and positively to do that. Just take that final step that's going to make a massive difference.
Oh, and what better person to do that with the lovely Viv. So on that note, obviously, if anyone is interested in maybe having a chat to Viv about, expanding on the services that you can offer, I know Viv has very, very kindly agreed to formulating some sort of offer, which will pop in the comments afterwards. So if you want to take advantage of that, then obviously do get in touch with Viv. Honestly, you will not be disappointed. I have to say, half an hour or however long with Viv, you will always come away smiling. Always, always. I know the very first time we chatted, I think I was like, I was having a bit of a mad day, wasn't I? I'm not joking, by the end of the session of talking to Viv, I was so calm and so composed. So yeah, I can highly recommend the services of Viv. She is a fantastic dynamo and really knows her stuff as well. So thank you, Viv. It's been an absolute pleasure. I'm so excited to share, obviously, your business with all my friends and my business colleagues, and thank you for giving us such a brilliant insight as to, recommendations for growth moving forward. I know we're in this massive period of growth right now for a lot of people. So thank you. I'm sure your words will resonate with so many. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It's my absolute pleasure to be with you today. And yeah, as I say, please do get in touch. I'm absolutely open to questions or queries and the comments you've got. That's been lovely to hear from you. You can find me at Viv Allen Coaching on Facebook and Instagram. So yeah, and it's the True Growth Podcast.
Oh yeah, go give them a listen. They're amazing. Excellent. Thank you so much for your time, Viv. I will speak to you soon.